rational school of thought and the empirical school of thought.
Yeah. So the most important thing was about how do we get the knowledge. So according to the Aristotelian science and Thomas Aquinas and the whole scholastic school of the Middle Ages, we receive knowledge through our experience, through our senses.
And those are the which
Aristotle, Thomas Aquinas,
and they're the
people I just
imperial.
mentioned. Huh?
And they're the imperial school of thought.
Yeah, okay, they were not called empirical. The empiricist school came later, but they were saying that there is nothing in our mind that hasn't been in our senses before. And during the time of Descartes, there was Francis Bacon, he was the empiricist, and Thomas Hobbes.
Oh yes.
After him, there were John Locke, George Berkeley, David Hume, all Englishmen. Okay, Berkeley was Irish, Hume was Scottish, but they all came from the island of Great Britain. Yeah.
And the rationalists?
The rationalist, that's Descartes, the rationalist, because the true knowledge comes from the reason, and the first true knowledge is that I exist. And this knowledge that I exist doesn't come from the senses. It comes only from the reason. So that's why he's rationalist. And the other two are Spinoza and Leibniz, we already mentioned.
So he's the only rationalist, or are there other rationalists? Who are the other rationalists?
Spinoza and Leibniz.
But at the same time or before?
After him.
But were there any
at the same time? I don't know. Maybe Gassendi, you know this name? Do you know Roma?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they're not so famous.
So there were more empiricists.
Yes.
And
there
that
were always more empiricists before him and after him.
Malebranche.
Uh-huh.
Malebranche.
Okay. He was empiricist.
Yeah, occasionally.
Okay. Yeah. Not very famous names, the others.
So the school of thought for rationalism is that first you think you exist because you can reason.
That's Descartes.
Yeah, and that's the rationalism. That's basically rationalism.
Yeah, it's called rationalism because it's the knowledge, the true knowledge comes from the reason, not from the senses, not from our experience.
Passed down? It's like passed down knowledge as well as what you experience. I mean, I'm getting confused because it seems like they both use experiences.
Yes. At the end, he comes to say that, okay, we can get true knowledge through our senses, but the first true knowledge comes from our reason. And before we have this knowledge, we cannot have true knowledge through our senses. Because it would be totally absurd if someone will deny the whole experience. You know, even the rationalists don't deny the experience. The experience exists, but the true knowledge comes from reason, or the first knowledge comes from reason.
Theory, and then you put it into practice, whereas the other guys come from senses first and then making a theory out of it. Where the other guys think of a theory first, reason it out, and then try to
Yeah, I know what you're thinking, like axioms, like in mathematics there are axioms, which are like known by that and you don't have to prove them. And there are theorems that you have to prove them, right?
Yeah. But I don't quite understand. Maybe I'm not.
No, but you have to prove the existence of myself, of the I. He proves it in a way that, okay, I already explained. And this knowledge doesn't come from the senses. This knowledge of my existence doesn't come from the senses.
About a month ago, you and I were discussing maybe different things that cannot be proved by the senses. Well, or things that, like, say, things that we can't see, but we infer that they're there by our. Well, like, okay, say we see a comet. We see a comet, and we cannot see where comets come from, but we believe we know where comets come from, even though we can't see them. where they come from, because it's too far away.
Did you tell that?
Yeah, we talked about that in the park. We were talking about getting knowledge from senses,
Right.
and getting knowledge from rationalism in the modern day. And I think we were saying that most everything is a combination of the two. And I was trying to think of examples of things that we don't have knowledge of through direct experience, only through inference.
But not through inference. Well, I don't know. I think that this would also be considered as knowledge through experience. I don't know. What do you think, Roma? Or Angel? I don't know. I think because if you have one experience,
The question is what comes first. Yeah. The question is what comes first. Is reason or?
No, the question is like in the astronomy, we find out about comets or some other objects that they exist somewhere, but we don't really see them. But we find out because we see.
So
some
first we
other,
see it.
right?
First we see it, so we experience it with
Yeah.
our senses, but we don't know. We can't see their home.
Right.
We can only infer where their home
I think it's
is.
still experience.
Everything is experience, but for example in astronomy there
It
are
is
some
experience,
objects that we cannot see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we never see.
It's knowledge.
Predictions.
Yes, but it's something that comes from inference, for sure.
It's still kind of experience.
Yes,
Right.
it is experience, but to have experience, you don't need knowledge. Just for like experience as ontological category.
Okay, this is maybe I think like the Hume's ball. When you throw the ball, the bouncing ball, it will bounce every time you throw it. And you know that it will bounce. How do you know? Well, maybe this time I throw the ball, it won't bounce. And you say, okay, try. Okay, I throw the ball, it bounces. Okay, this time it won't. And you can go on like this forever. And then how do you know that every time you throw the ball, it bounces? And this is experience. It is by experience. But what experience? Did you have experience about the next time you throw the ball? No.
But you wait, and you bounce it, and it happens
Yeah,
again.
but how about the next time? So it's still.
So I think
And
it's
that
good
was-
to distinguish between knowledge. It's good to distinguish between knowledge, which is just pure information, right, and experience as ontological category. So some knowledge, a lot of the knowledge comes from experience, right? Because
Scientific knowledge, mostly comes from
experience. Empirical knowledge comes from experience.
Yeah, but how do you know the ball will bounce again next time?
Right, from the knowledge gained from that experience.
Maybe next time it won't. It's not good enough. Yeah, then Kant came here and said, now let's unite the experience and the reason. He said, stop people, okay, stop the car, stop law. You're just talking about experience, you're just talking about reason. Let's unite them both. Right, Roman?
Yeah, and Descartes was actually, I think, who mentioned it, I don't remember, that Descartes actually, he created this synthetic a priori statements. There was a base of kind of basic base of kind of philosophy.
Yeah. So it's still reason has its part. You put reason in the ball, and you say, well, every time I throw it bounced, so let's examine the ball and see what's the nature of the ball, so we can predict that every time you throw the ball in the same conditions, it will bounce. And here is the reason, where reason interferes with experience. Although we went a little bit far from Descartes.
Well, Kant is the end of Descartes, it's a very logical end of Cartesianism.
Yes.
I think if there aren't any further questions, Alex, you can just maybe wrap it up.
I don't know.
Where will you go next? Where does this lead you?
Where does this go next? So this goes to the heated discussion between rationalists and empirists in the early modern period. Descartes was called the father of modern philosophy, but there are people also before him, or at the same time with him, like Francis Bacon, who let's not say invented, but cleared up the method of induction, which is very important for science. the period of the 16th to 18th century, let's say. These 2 centuries were very important for the development of philosophy, and as Roman just mentioned, Immanuel Kant put end to all this, put end to Cartesianism. He also put an end to maybe empiricism in a way. He also put an end to the proofs of God's existence. He mentioned four types of proofs of God's existence, and he argued for both the existence and non-existence of God. And he showed that you can argue both, that God exists and God doesn't exist. So he said that all this talking about proving God's existence is wrong. It's not that he was not, that he didn't believe in God. He just wanted to say that it's not possible to show it in argumentation. And here we are, now after 4.5 centuries or more, after Descartes, still talking about him. But that's not a big deal. We still have to learn how our modern society is created and shaped, and it all comes from people in that time, Descartes and John Locke. I also wanted to talk about John Locke in this speech, but obviously we couldn't have time because he's also one of the fathers of modernity, not just Descartes. Because John Locke, he argued for, more like to say, for this free market society, let's say in this way, like in the American Constitution, John Locke is mentioned. I don't know if you're familiar with that. No? I don't care about America. Right, anyway, let's not go on, so I think it should be.
Okay, thank you.